Hello, folks. I am back, and this time I want to talk about lemons. A lot of times you heard this reference when it comes to automobiles that are lemons that are not working properly from the manufacturer. So I'm going to talk briefly about this regarding firearms. But before I do that, I want to make some acknowledgments. I want to thank all the people who have been subscribing to me and the new followers, and I greatly appreciate it. And I enjoy your comments, good, bad, or indifferent. I really appreciate it. And I also want to let you know about Core Essential belts and their accessories. Just go to their website, look it up. They make some really good accessories outside of their belts. They're basically known for their belts, but you can get 10% off when you use my code Keenan10. I'll put that notated in the description below, but check out Core Essentials for your belt needs and other accessories. And their products are guaranteed. And also, I also want to offer some support. I'm a big fan of movies. Some of you know that, but there is a series called on Amazon called Terminal List. I want everybody to check this series out. It is pretty cool. It stars Chris Pratt. Check it out. And I am going to support Chris Pratt as well as the writer of the books, Jack Carr. If you don't know what's going on about this series, Google it and you'll understand later. Now let's get to the product at hand and some things I wanted to talk about when it comes to lemons with firearms. Now, I was just watching Firearm Freedom's video on his PTR. He's a Pennsylvania guy, so just like I am. So he also works at a firearm store as well. And he was talking about how many issues he was having with his PTR and how he contacted the company and how he was dealing with that. If you want to know further, go to his channel. It is his latest video. And like I said, his name is Firearm Freedom. Check that out. And you would be pretty much amazed. And he does a little bit of a series on it, but check out this last one. And I was thinking about doing this when I was writing my notes. I was just watching and listening to what he was saying, and it's kind of parallels when it comes to lemons. Now, when you have firearms, nobody wants a firearm that's not going to function properly or anything of that nature. There have been some issues. Some companies are more have issues more than other companies, and the main problem for lemons when it comes to firearms, it's the quality control. Quality control is the main issue when it comes to firearms that do not function properly. And it's a shame when these firearms don't work right because you have your hopes, you have your expectations, and you love these firearms, and then you get to the range and all of a sudden it's not working properly. I'm not talking about when you put in, let's say, ammo and it blows out an extractor or anything like that. I'm talking about regular firearms functionality, and that should not happen. So the number one issue for that is it's going to always be quality control. I had some issues with my earlier Kimbers. I had two Kimbers. I mentioned this many times before, and it was for my Kimber Super Carry Ultra, and I had multiple issues, and also my Kimber Stainless too. I had multiple issues with that. I couldn't resolve the issues, so I ended up getting rid of those firearms. And then there have been other issues with other firearms, like I've seen on a SHOT Show video when Colt was introducing their Python, and when this is when the Pythons were making their resurgence, they were coming back, and the Pythons basically had some issues where there were some cylinder issues or whatnot. But I'm just going to let you folks know that that issue has been corrected by Colt since. But this is the type of thing that you have expectations of, and you have some issues. And another guy that I talked to online, his name is Smash Time, dealing with another Kimber product. And he had an issue. I believe he had a repeat in 10 millimeter, and there were some issues with that particular firearm. And what he did was he contacted Kimber, and Kimber basically fixed the issue, and now Smash Time is very happy with his product. And that's what I want to touch on with that is, what do you do when something happens to your firearm when it's not working properly? Number one, contact customer service and try to work something out with them. Have them try to get them to send the firearm, take the firearm back so they can do what they have to do. If it's sent back to you and if it doesn't work properly, still contact them again. Tell them to send the firearm back again. If there's a second strike on that, now you're really going to have to negotiate on what to do. And one of those things is, you either can try to get reimbursed. Now, I know of a couple companies that did reimburse the customer, but they did not get the full amount. They didn't really pay them that well, or get the company, which I think would be better, for a replacement. Now, will this work with all companies? No. It depends on what the company decides and how they view their reputation. And that's what you're going to have to really fight for and work with. I can't tell you what the outcome's going to be. That's something you're going to have to work with. But if there is something that is definitely wrong, try to work with it yourself. And if it doesn't work, try to work with the company, and let's see how that goes. I'm not here to badmouth a lot of companies. That's why I'm not mentioning a lot of companies by name. But some customer services have been very spotty when it comes to lemons on their firearms. They are quickly to blame the customer themselves uh, for issues that are happening with their firearms out the gate with less than 50 rounds in some cases. Some of them will tell you, hey, this gun needs a break-in period. Okay, you go on past the break-in period and there's still a problem. That's when you have to stick to your gun, excuse the pun, but you're going to still have to go and deal with those companies, and because they are basically responsible for their firearms based on their guarantees. Try not to void any warranties. This is why I tell people, do not alter your firearm before you fire your firearm. Now, there are a lot of people that are out there that say, oh, the gun's not working, let me take off my accessories and send it back to the manufacturer. No. What you did was, you probably did something to the firearm, and then you're sending it to, and when you put all these accessories on, now you're going to send it back to the company. The company's going to see it in a stock configuration, and then they're going to say, no, there's nothing wrong with the firearm, and then they're going to send it back to you. Then you're going to pop those accessories or whatever trigger kits you put into it, and then you're going to say there's something wrong with the firearm. Essentially, you really avoided the warranty itself. So shoot the firearm in its stock configuration before you start putting any gadgets on there to make sure that it's functioning properly. One of the other things is, what I've run into a lot of times, my experience is not the same as other people's experiences. And I'm going to give you an example, and this is why you see um, my Dan Wesson TCP. And I'm going to show clear on this real quick so the YouTube gods don't get upset, and put the magazine in just for aesthetics. Now, this is my favorite 1911 in 9mm. I've had no malfunctions. I carry it. I trust it with my life and everything else with this. I've had no problems with this. So I've have a friend of mine. His name is John. He's at the range a lot, and he saw my TCP, and he was really interested. And he didn't want a 45 ACP version. I told him mine was a 9mm, so he decided to purchase one. Unfortunately, when he got his, he went to the range and he had some issues. And one of the issues was with we tried to diagnose it together, and we thought it was a magazine issue. So I end up He ended up shooting mine. Mine had no issues. I ended up shooting his. He had some issues on his firearm. I even put my magazines in his firearm. I use either the stock Dan Wesson magazines and or the Wilson Combat magazines. We tried various different magazines. The issues continued. He sent the firearm back to Dan Wesson. Dan Wesson did their testing. And one thing about Dan Wesson, they stand behind their products, and they had a list of what they did with the extractor and so forth. And unfortunately, they when they sent the firearm back, my friend John still had this ongoing issue. And I even tried it. It still had some ongoing issues. John is a very good shooter. I'm a good shooter. And it was just a lemon. Let's face it. Dan Wesson is a very reputable company. And I would have basically, if it were my firearm, I would send it back to Dan Wesson and said, hey, look, this is the first time I ever had an issue with your product. I don't want the money back. Just give me another firearm. That's what I would have done. I don't know what John did in his case. I don't know, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. So next time I see him, I want to ask him how it was resolved. I know he wasn't happy, and I think he got rid of the firearm, but don't quote me on that. I'm going to have to ask him that so I can really give you a decent answer. But what I'm going to say to you, the point I'm trying to make of this story is there are times that your experiences with a certain product is not going to be the same as your friend's situation with the same product that you have. I mean, you can have the same. Everybody can have the same vehicle, but one of you are going to have a different experience. So, to close this video out, I'm basically going to say this: if you're having an issue and you feel as though that you got a lemon, try to deal with the manufacturer as best as you can. Try to get them. A lot of people want to try to go with the money or whatnot, the case may be. Try to get the company to replace the firearm because you already spent the money. Just have a little more faith in it, have a little more patience, and then work with the company as best as you can. And remember, when you first get a firearm, shoot the firearm and work with the firearm at least 500 or more, 500 rounds in its stock condition before you start putting any gadgets on so you can diagnose whether or not that firearm's a lemon. With that said, happy shooting, stay safe, #2A.